There are two things we can be sure of with the return to school. First, digital learning is here to stay. And second, it shouldn't look anything like the improvised approach that was hastily thrown together in the face of a pandemic. Hi, my name is Gary Lemke from Indiana, and I'm so happy to be here today with everyone here at the Iowa Virtual Conference. I'm sorry we can't be here in person today, but I look forward to hopefully that happening in the near future. So I'm focused on e-learning today. I hope you're here to learn some great new things about e-learning and health and PE and how that can help you be a better teacher, help you enjoy being a teacher, and of course lead to better outcomes here. And really the theme of this today is really thriving in flexible learning worlds. And I know we've all had to learn new definitions of flexibility lately. And I do believe at this point in time, and I will give that some definition here in just a moment, of why we have a once-in-a-career opportunity to use technology, e-learning in health and PE. And that's why I'm here today. So before I get into that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Again, I'm from Indiana, and I'm not only focused on health and physical education, I really believe I like to call myself an advocate for health and physical literacy. Because it gives emphasis to the fact that we got a little selling to do in our profession, and advocacy is the way we can do that. And the best way to advocate is by best practices and making an impact, but also looking at outcomes. And I think health and physical literacy, which are beyond what we're going to talk about today, are the goals and the outcomes that we need to have. So if those terms are a little bit new to you, definitely Shape America's got some great terms of that. Reach out to me. I can obviously talk about that all day long. I have been focusing for almost a decade on curriculum development in health and PE, all based around e-learning, all based around digital learning, all based around blended learning. So it's something that I'm totally dedicated to the extent that I've created an organization called Interactive PE, or for short IPE and iHealth, to help other teachers do this with actual curricula and with solutions and the technology to back that up. I also have been incredibly involved in professional development as it relates to being a past president with Indiana Shape and past executive director. I've worked on committees at the district level in the Midwest, as well as task force with Shape America. So anyway, a little bit about myself, just three little phrases here. Nature is my favorite gym. In other words, I think the great outdoors brings out the good inside in just about everyone, and certainly encourage everyone to spend as much time outside as possible. I guess the corollary to that is there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes. Second, don't steal my steps. I actually stole that line from Carol Kennedy of Indiana University. She tells me she's going to write a book someday, and if she doesn't, I'm going to steal her title and write that book, because I think that we have to recognize that it's something so valuable that people have been stealing from us that we need to value so much that we try and protect that, just as we put other things in our bank vault, or at least behind key, or at least place the value on that so much. So don't steal my steps. So let me give you one quick example. I might park at the farthest part of the parking lot just because I can get more steps going into the store that way. So anything I can do to find more movement in my day, I'm going to try and find. And then the last one is every day is my birthday. So I believe every day is your birthday. So I want to say happy birthday to you, because when we say birthday, we say happy birthday. And that happiness is something that should be in everyone's life every single day, not just once a year. So I think having that perspective of, hey, today's my birthday, what am I going to do, can really change an outlook on perspective and priority. Last thing I'll tell you about myself is if you go out to my Twitter account, at Lemke, you'll see that I picked a one word, something that some people change every year on January 1st, on one word they're going to focus on. Years ago, I picked grit. But then I studied the word and I really took it to heart, and it's really kind of an intersection of passion and perseverance. And one of the definitions of perseverance, of real grit, is something that lasts multiple years. So rather than change that word, which then I could say, well, and I have not perfected grit for sure, is that I really wanted to make sure that I focused on something for the duration rather than just kind of bouncing around from word to word. So here's the thesis for today. Basically, instructional design, really important words there, is the strategic creation. Creation obviously is action of learning experiences through intentional planning, sequencing, and data-driven learning. And we're going to break that down. I'm going to put it into a 5-phase plan. I'm going to give you some best examples of that. I'm going to give you some teacher testimonials. And basically, I'll say that in today, what you're going to see is that blended learning is a comprehensive, resilient, effective way to deliver e-learning. And basically, it's something that you can do yourself and basically leverage, if you want, the best practices of what I've done and working with the hundreds of teachers that I've worked with, or it's something you can acquire. I have a solution you can pull off the shelf and use today, start tomorrow with, or you could do both. You could start tomorrow with it and then use that time to learn and then do it yourself for the long haul. So if you go with the acquisition and or the hybrid acquisition / DIY version of your strategy, basically I want to tell you that if you pull something off the shelf and you work with IP and iHealth, you're getting the experience of hundreds of teachers. First year, 40 plus years, last year before retirement, everything in between. I would say the average right now is about 18 to 20 years experience. But obviously that's because we got folks on both ends here. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of students, big schools, small schools, urban, rural, suburban, parochial, charter, all sorts of different schools, all sorts of students of needs, with different needs, different starting places, different abilities, socioeconomic backgrounds, different languages. We have some schools we've been in where they have 80 different languages plus being spoken, at least by the families and the students in there. And then, of course, when you start to do that math there, we're talking about millions and millions of delivered lessons through the digital cloud, basically to these students and meeting them where they are at the time they need to be met. So let me turn it over. I have a couple teachers. I'm going to start with Reese Rzuski. She's a high school teacher using iHealth. She's also a Midwest Teacher of the Year. Reese?
So starting iHealth last year was great. My principal was real excited about it because he wanted us to move in the direction of technology. What I like best about it is it lays the groundwork. iHealth covers not only the Indiana standards, but also national standards. So I know that all the groundwork is covered. And if I forget something, I'm all right because iHealth has covered that. And it's been there for everything. I felt like when the pandemic came, okay, no worries. I've already got things set up, smooth sailing, we'll just keep going. You know, obviously the units are amazing and the brain breaks are amazing. And I just feel like that's why I want teachers to understand this. If they do adapt iHealth, which I would recommend to people, just kind of what I mentioned before, that you can just do so much because you can just extract what you need from iHealth and then carry that on into another creative lesson. And the students already have that background. Whereas before I would have had to taught all that background first and then been able to do my more creative units or units where they're doing things more on their own. I would recommend having this normalcy in their curriculum. I really would. I would tell them, get something set and in place so that your students are going to know, even from the beginning of the semester, that till the end of the semester, they're going to have a curriculum that they are going to follow. So I love that it sets the groundwork and the fact that I'm not missing anything, Gary. Do you know what I mean? I know those skills are already there. They've got them from the units and I can just go on from there. And I think teachers should like that because then you can be even more creative in your lessons. So I think that we really have to prepare ourselves for there being learning, both virtual learning and in-person learning. So it's been a great tool for me.
So let's go. What I'm talking about is change. And I know change is something we all like to avoid. We like the status quo. We like the expected. We don't like the unexpected. We don't like to take risks. I get that. That's the way I am. That's the way human nature is. That's the way most people are. But at this point in time, there's a couple things we really have to remember. One is digital learning is on everyone's mind. It's here. We know it's not living up to its potential. We know it can be more. It's not going away. So rather than trying to avoid the inevitable, it's time to embrace the inevitable. Second, it just can't be this. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, I can't wait to get things back to normal. Well, you know what? There are a lot of good things about normal traditions, best practices, basically everything that we know that works. But we also know the old normal consists of a lot of things that were a lot of problems, a lot of things that didn't work. So we need to be careful to vet the old normal good stuff from the old normal not so good stuff. And basically that basically can free us up to move forward. Thirdly, education is flush with cash. I'm going to give you the numbers here in a minute. We have never in our lifetime, ever in anyone's lifetime, seen this amount of money flowing in not only to each state, but to each school district and to all schools. And so if there was ever a time where, the excuse was we didn't have money for this, now there is money available. But I will also tell you this. Money is available to those that have a plan and a proposal on how to use the money. School districts are sending out surveys all over the place. Well, what should we do with the money? You, as a health and physical educator, have the opportunity to say, here is how we can help our students and use that money very, very wisely. And again, this is about a strategic bet. So again, for some schools that may be acquisition, for others maybe do it yourself. For probably the majority, it's probably a little bit of both. Okay, let's acquire something so we can go to classroom right now and make an impact, but also then we can advance our professional development, our learning, our institutional knowledge, and do this for the long haul. So those are the four things that I'll say, hey, you know what? If there was ever a time to go, it's now. And there is a time to go, and it is now. Hopefully everyone will see that. So said I'd talk about the money. Money came in the last year plus, actually not much more than 12 months, in 3 tranches from the federal government. And these amounts of money have gone up every time, and they dwarf everything that has been done for education in the past. ESSA is just basically evaporation compared to the big pool that we're talking about in terms of money. So ESSER 1 basically started this off, and basically for Iowa, you got $71 million. A second tranche, I'm going to call them all ESSER, the CARES Act, basically magnified that almost 5x and is now available for spending and is again apportioned to the school districts. ESSER 3 got even bigger than that. And so what you're seeing is that within the period of a year, $1 billion for K through 12 education. And the good thing about this is it's not just the traditional public schools. I mean, that's obviously where the vast majority goes, but they recognize students have needs if they're not going to public schools. So there is a portion of these funds that are available and going directly to charter schools, private schools, whatever it may be. And so to give you a couple examples here, Bettendorf, about 3 to 4 million. Des Moines, almost 100 million, and you can see a couple of the school districts in between. So we are talking significant numbers here. And let me tell you this. Our conversation today is about e-learning. Our conversation today is about digital curriculum. Our conversation today is about health and physical literacy. It is about all those things. However, if you decide that your needs for health and physical education are different than what I'm talking about, these monies are still available. So I just want to make sure you know that these dollars are there and they're going to go in your school district and they're going to be spent. But they're going to be spent by people that raise awareness for the opportunity and have a plan to address the opportunity. And so if it's not this teacher, if it's not this school, if it's not this department, it will be another. So if health and physical literacy and health and physical education was ever to get a bump in priority in terms of funding it is now. But it will not be without serious conversation and balance between a lot of other needs. So you just have to show that the mental, social, emotional, and physical health of our students is that important, that we spend a certain percentage of our funds in those areas. So lots of money available, but you go, hey, you know what? Now is not the right time. I'm too busy. We're just getting over a pandemic, lots of uncertainty or whatever. But I want to tell you this. There is a window of opportunity. And if you wait, I guess, you hate to say this. If you snooze, you might lose. This money isn't going to last forever. Conditions change. The opportunity is ripe, and now you have the opportunity to go in and say, hey, you know what? I can create resilient learning no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's bricks in-house, clicks online, if it's hybrid, if I need to incorporate our summer school programs, if I need to work on distance learning, whatever. I've got a universal answer that works in any situation. Next, I want to say EdTech with a purpose. For a decade, longer, people are going, how can we use technology to unleash, to unlock the potential of education? For health and physical education, which is where we want to focus, we can unlock the skills-based learning. We can focus on real outcomes. We can look at the standards. We can have metrics. We can measure learning. There are things that we can do now that we could never do before. And this is our window of opportunity. Now, I hate to even say this, but I get this time and time again from the teachers that are using IPE and iHealth. They go, you know what? The way you do things, the use of technology just makes my job easier. It makes me more effective. It allows me to spend more time on the things where real learning can occur. It makes the teacher to student connection really happen. So I definitely want to say this, but at the same time, it's not, obviously we do this for other reasons than ourselves, but we have to take care of ourselves too. And then lastly, the bow wave. If you go to the front of a boat and you're going down the water and you're getting pushed by a motor, by a sail, the wind in the sails, or even rowing or whatever, you can go to the front of a boat and you can see a little wave on the front, just in front of the bow, just in front of the tip of the boat. And you know what? If you go faster, you go, oh, maybe I can jump the bow wave. Doesn't matter how hard you push, doesn't matter how big an engine you have, it doesn't matter how much wind you have. That bow wave always stays in front of the boat. This is our opportunity to jump the bow wave, that no matter how hard we work, we never get to where we want to be. This is our opportunity to get on the other side and to get to where we want to be by using digital learning, e-learning, blended learning in a way that allows us to jump the bow wave. So now I want to bring in Candy Handy from Warren Central High School. She's a department head of one of the largest high schools in the state. Basically a very large department, lots of different teachers teaching both health and physical education. And they have standardized on IPE and iHealth for all their students. In any given semester, they may have 1,000 to 2,000 students taking this, and it doesn't matter who the teacher is, what period it is. It doesn't matter if it's summer school, doesn't matter if it's a recovery school, traditional school, whatever. Everyone gets the same experience. Everyone is measured to the same assessments. Everyone has the same curriculum. Candy?
It's already done for you. It's there. The curriculum is current, it's relevant, it's what the kids need. It's delivered in a way that the kids get. It's what they're doing. It's their genre. Technology is their thing. And it's done. And the beauty of this, it's 16 units. So I broke that down per week, a unit a week. And actually, kids only, I say only, time wise, 15 to 20 minutes a day to stay on pace. And they did learn pacing, and they learned the importance of pacing and time management. And I think for kids, teenagers, adults as well, time management is not an easy concept, especially when they were looking at, six classes a day to try to maneuver through. My kids told me that they really enjoyed health. They got it. They knew what they had to do, how much they had to do. They knew they had 7 days. I told them by Sunday night. So I gave them the weekend as well. And then I would update their grades on Monday, which a very cool part of this whole system is that you click a button and miraculously, thank you, Gary, all of their grades are updated. There's a piece in there that you grade yourself. And I love that because that gave me a bird's eye view into my students' thoughts and how they saw things. And the other part of it is it's an short essay question that they really can't get wrong. They can't miss it unless they don't do it, and then it's a miss. But it's 10 points of reading their thoughts. And so that helped me to stay connected with where they were coming from. With this, I swear they put their earbuds in, they can lay in bed, they can sit at a table, they can do it on their iPhone, they can do it on an iPad, and they can do it anywhere they can get connectivity. And it's so straightforward, and it's their world. You listen to a short video, you answer some questions. You listen to a short video, you answer some questions. And hopefully then they're applying it into their own lives. And then that's where the talk comes in, the huddle ups. At the end of each unit, sometimes they're completely not even connected to the curriculum for that unit, but they're real interesting and fun. And the kids get dialed into them. So it's about a 20-minute video. And, it's usually dealing with the brain and feelings and emotions and reactions. And they're always fun. So when I started doing this, I had them doing it on their own because I wanted to learn the curriculum. And now, we view them together. We can talk about them together as I learned more about Zooming and getting people together. And now next year, breakout rooms, and just trying to make the most of it on my end, because the system, the package, the curriculum is all there.
So I said I'd talk about 5 phases, the 5 different plan or parts of the plan of development, course development stages, if you will: planning, design, development, implementation, evaluation. So here's the interesting thing about, and I'm going to go through each one of these, but when we got caught in that March 2020 mode, what did we do? We knew what the right answer was, but we reacted. And we took all 5 of these approaches and we boiled it down to just do something. And that's where we are today, is we need to decide what did we do and how do we bring it forward, but recognizing that we might have forgotten the plan, design, implement, or develop mode before the implement mode. And of course, have we evaluated it and decided how we're going to re-implement for the future? So real quickly, and there's more in the other session I'm doing here, but each stage I'm going to give you just a couple quick bullet points, and this is no substitute for full course implementation. But in stage 1 of planning a whole digital curriculum is never ever forget what the outcomes need to be. And again, how are you going to measure results to see if you hit those outcomes? And of course, you're never going to get there unless you understand what resources you need in terms of money, time, expertise, whatever it might be, to get where you want to be. Stage 2, design. I really think that below outcomes are goals, and they can be smaller goals, but they have to lead to the bigger outcomes. The structure, well, I guess what we'd call scope and sequence. What are the different stepping stones? How do they relate to each other? How does one build on the other? And then what I'll call the production process. When you get into design, you're not in implementation mode yet. You're not in development mode yet, I should say, or implementation mode. But basically, how you're going to spend most of your time in this development mode. Do you have processes in place to make sure that you can get there? Do you have templates in place? Do you understand that students really do like to understand what the expectations are? And having templates give them cues and an environment where they can know what's coming at them. And then, of course, the schedule. And we're going to talk a little bit more about timing here in a minute. But when you do get into design, schools have academic calendars, and so everything has to go off a schedule. You have to hit certain goals at certain times, and understanding how to do that is very, very important. So in the development phase, which is the biggest phase, is that thinking about what each lesson is going to look like, and that starts with basically what is a lesson title. For me, I pick a title that is a question. I pick a title that is a question that a student might ask, that a student might find, yes, this is something I'm interested in, and making that connection right up front, even before they get into the lesson. But at the opposite end, at the end of the lesson, is like, yes, there may be more than one big idea. There may be many elements, there may be many nuances, but if I can leave one big idea, one thing to focus on, one thing, did you get this? I think really having what's the big idea, which is part of every IP and iHealth lesson that I've ever done, is here's how it ends. Here's the big idea. And then, of course, how to produce videos. It is an art, like what I'm doing right now. It just doesn't happen. It has to have a certain professionalism to it. Look at all the videos and digital media that your kids look at. It has to have a certain level of professionalism. Otherwise, it's not meeting up to what they've come to expect from their world. And then again, formative assessments. And I will tell you this, one of the best things we have going with IP and iHealth is every lesson has a formative assessment. And it is to focus on understanding, it's to focus on objectives. It's not meant to be punitive at all. So here's the thing. So when a student takes this formative assessment, and then let's say they get it all right, then they can move on. If not, they can redo the lesson, and they can take that formative assessment as many times as they need to until they feel like they've earned the understanding, and they feel like they have mastered the material. And the grade they get in the course is based on the average of all attempts. So they learn it's better to get it right up front, but they know that if they don't, it's not like a death sentence. So they can improve and fix their grade with effort. Implementation. This is when you actually start day one with your students and set expectations. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's what you need to do. And in e-learning, you're giving a lot of individualized learning to the students. So they need to understand that you're empowering them, that you're telling them that they own their success and that you're there to help them and the platform is there to support them. And then, of course, big part of that is keeping the pace. So the great thing about individualized learning is that different people have different paces, and that's okay. And it's not punitive, but there are certain expectations that everyone has to have because you can't run a marathon by practicing the day before. You have to put in the time on a sustained basis in a sustained way. And again, with implementation, you want to be able to monitor progress. Here's the cool part. it's not just about the teacher monitoring progress. It's about allowing the student to monitor their own progress. Stage 5, evaluation. So after the course is over, we do get student feedback, and I said before that's kind of a scary thing, but it is an awesome thing because you can see what's going on. Analytics. The great thing about e-learning is it's digital. You get data. You have data that you can analyze, you can report on, you can prove when you have a teacher evaluation that you are actually making an impact on student learning. And then, of course, you can learn from that to make the course better, to make the experience better over time. Okay, so let's talk about implementation, right? So what's this take? As I said, I've done 3 courses, IPE1, IPE2, and Health and Wellness. When I did this the first time, IPE1, stages 1, 2, and 3, plan, design, and develop, were 52 weeks. It took a full year to get to the point of rolling out the first course. And with IPE2, I learned a little bit, and we got that down to less than a year. But with Health and Wellness, even though I had the process down, new content, and much more academic in nature, it took more than a year. So this is kind of an average, but what you can see here is there really are no shortcuts. Yes, you can go in implementation mode, but then you're going to be doing lesson-focused approach versus course-focused approach. And so you really cannot skip that plan, design, develop stage. And you got to understand that every semester you're going to be in the implement, evaluate, implement, evaluate, implement, evaluate stage. So, I talked about a big idea. I'm going to leave you with one big idea today, and I could have left you with a dozen of them. But here's the one I'm going to leave you with. Good design matters. Here's the thing. A lot of us have a tendency to think in terms of lesson thinking, lesson development, and I'm going to tell you that this is about course thinking. When you have a course thinking perspective, you do lesson thinking, but when you do lesson thinking, it's really difficult to do course thinking. So basically, one begets the other one ignores the other, is what I'm going to tell you there. And that's where, when you do good design, what am I going to do on the first day, what I'm going to do on the last day, and what I'm going to do on every day in between, and how is that going to roll out year after year after year. Takes that more effort up front. It's a lot less effort ongoing, and I'll tell you that. So, I know you have people probably telling you, hey, you're a teacher, you do the development yourself too. E-learning, course development, blended learning, digital learning, individualized learning is not an individual endeavor. It is something that requires multiple content experts, especially if you're collaborating with other teachers. You want to have course coherency, right? You want to have the same experience for all kids, regardless of which teacher they have, in terms of the curriculum at least. Technology experts. That doesn't mean having access to a phone number or a person to call for questions or ask for help. This is making sure that your technology experts have as a part of their job description supporting your course development and carving out time to be there when you need them to be there. And then what I'll call student advocates. Student advocates could be students. They could be parents. They could be people in the community. They could be counselors. They could be your administrators. They could be your peer teachers, whatever. It's who are the people you need to review your digital experience to make sure you're keeping it authentic, keeping it real, and keeping it relevant. So, I'm going to wrap up here, guys, and with just a couple game changers. Here's the big things I hear. When you go to this approach, everyone goes in teaching, hey, if I had more time, I could do more things. Teachers aren't going to get more time. How to use the same time, same minutes, if you will, but to get more time. And this is where when you have the flipped classroom, the blended learning, when you allow students to learn on their own, in their own way and make more connections, you're actually going to have more time to add the cognitive to the kinetic for physical education, to add the skills to health education, so it's not just content-based. Next, as I said before, this is for all kinds of teachers, new, old, whatever. But the cool thing is you can use technology to teach without having to teach technology. Next, multitasking. I tell you what, the teachers that have multiple responsibilities, they may be coaches, they may act as athletic directors, they may be teaching health, PE, and business, multiple courses. But I'll also say, you know what, they may have additional responsibilities at home, new kids, particular situations that require additional attention. They may be in that sandwich situation with older parents. They may have community requirements when they're with their families, with their churches, whatever it may be. We all have multitasking situations, and anything we can do to make sure that we continue to focus on the student-teacher relationship and not the other task associated with teaching is just going to have a positive impact on our students, but also on the job satisfaction that teachers have as well. Last thing I'll say is where I started, that I'm all about outcomes, I'm all about goals, I'm all about health and physical literacy, not just education, but literacy. And this is where skills, confidence, and knowledge can come in, and we can use technology to do things we couldn't do in the past. And we just can't say, well, I don't have this or I don't have that to do it. We now have new tools to make things happen that we know are very, very important, but we just couldn't make happen in the past. So it's your turn, guys. This is your once in a career opportunity. And that can take a lot of different forms, okay? First, it could be about finances. There's a lot out there. Maybe all you want to do is equipment. That's okay. Maybe, it doesn't matter what you want to do if money can handle it. And enable it, I should say, do it. If it comes down to e-learning, you can do the turnkey approach. You can do the acquired approach, not the acquired approach with turnkey, but also the do-it-yourself approach or a hybrid with both. But here's the deal. I'm just here to help you achieve what I know is possible, what I have seen other teachers doing with e-learning and technology. So just let me know how I can help. I feel like maybe Iowa happened because we gave one of our best from Indiana to Iowa, and Kim Hurley. Kim and I had spent years going to a Speak Out Day in Washington, D.C. I don't know if Kim is listening today, but I just want to give a shout out to her. But just to say that anytime I can help anyone from Iowa, I'm here for you guys. Just let me know, and hope to see you guys soon. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.